All right, welcome to another episode of Talking Shop. I have one of my good friends, Kyle Moore, who Kyle is an advisor I've known probably the longest since I started my firm. We met at the XY Plenty Network right after I launched. So I don't get to talk to him or see him as much as I'd like, but excited for him to join me here on this work from home episode of Talking Shop. So first off, Kyle, how's everything going? How are you and your family doing?
Not too bad. I'm actually not working from home right now because I have a small house and loud children. Uh, but yeah, everything's going okay. I think we're past the panic and I'm sleeping better and drinking less.
There you go. I've been following you on Twitter, and I've seen some of the comments about having a drink here and there, and a little bit more than you usually do. So I'm glad to hear that you're getting a little bit more calm.
Coffee, wine, and cocktails. That's kind of how I've been coping. So I'm doing better now, though.
Sounds good. Well, before we get to kind of like what you've learned from this experience and how you've made this work, how are things with your clients? I want advisors out there to kind of get a feel for what other advisors' clients are saying and doing. So, how are your clients holding up?
Good. I think this is one of the big tests, to see, if you've really done a good job of training clients. And so I had a lot of clients reach out to me and, responding to some of the client communication I was putting out there saying, hey, we've got extra money that we can invest. And so a lot of clients poured in cash. And so I think that's really the test of how you know whether you have clients trained the right way and educated in the way that they should respond. I had one client who gave me a call and wanted to liquidate everything. Coincidentally or not coincidentally, that's the one client who has been most resistant to just talking about how to understand the investment strategy. So he's one of those executive types who just wants to delegate and not really understand. And so he panicked and had one of those calls. And so that was an interesting call to receive, but it was probably the one I would have most expected just because he put in the least amount of time to try to understand what we were doing.
So you mentioned getting your clients prepared for this in advance. And it's funny, I met with Jeremy Walter and I did one of these just before this, and we kind of talked about that. How have you gone through in your career working with your clients to get them ready? What was the conversations you had, or how did you frame the potential risks that they're going to deal with? How did you get them ready for this?
I just spend a lot of time on the front end to help people understand the relationship between risk and return, that you get the long-term permanent equity returns by being willing to subject yourself to these temporary declines. And so I like to frame it that way, kind of how Nick Murray does in terms of permanent equity returns versus temporary declines. I really want to hammer home to people that you are taking risk by investing. We're doing that because we think there's a long-term reward there, but the risk is that you're going to see your money go up and down. And so I try to set that expectation. I try to set the expectation that 10% declines happen on average every single year, 15% declines every 2 years, 20 to 25% declines I think happen every 5 years. So we go through all that up front, and every time we meet together, I have a little bit of maybe one slide or one thing that I just kind of impress upon them. So it's sort of just a constant stream of communication. Every client newsletter I put out there, it's something along the same message of, we can't control the market. We can control how we respond. We've prepared ahead of time. And this, it's really just the same message over and over again. And I try not to get complacent with that.
Your client newsletters, I get. They're very good. I've been on you for years to try to write more, but I get it now. I started a newsletter for advisors, and I understand why maybe just sticking to the newsletter is the best thing to do. So I'm not going to push you and put pressure on you on video and on a podcast to start writing more publicly, but you do a very good job, and I enjoy those. So I can see how that is helping your clients along the way. I know you got a busy day. You mentioned that you are not working at home. You're at the office. You said before we start recording this is a surge week for you with a lot of client meetings. What was one tip, and maybe this is it, that you have for advisors that are figuring out how to balance all of this that's worked for you in this? We've only been doing it for a few weeks, but what's worked for you to get through this period, getting the things you need to be doing for work, being there for your clients, but also having to be working from home?
Well, I think number one is clear communication and expectation settings with your spouse, trying to have those conversations proactively. That was something I didn't do well. And secondly, you have to be okay with disruptions. Obviously, I had a presentation actually to a prospect that we did over Zoom, and right before the meeting started, our internet went out. We had our electricity provider was out working on things, and our whole internet went out. Everything went out. So I had to reschedule that meeting. Fortunately they understood, but along with me being in a small house with kids and a puppy and whatnot, I ended up for this week saying, you know what, I'm just gonna go out to my office. We technically can since we're essential service. And so there's nobody here. I just came in and I'm kind of hammering out these meetings, and then I go home for these weeks. But yeah, it's a tough adjustment. I haven't done it perfectly, but I think I'm starting to get more used to it. And it also helps to have my office just a couple miles away and being able to kind of escape into that right now.
Right. That's a nice luxury. I'm down in my basement, which luckily the boys are upstairs. So this is my wife's time to go do her thing. So she's at her store grabbing all the things and shipping them out because her online store is still active. So Roman and Leo are watching Silas, which I don't hear too much screaming or too much loud noise upstairs. So I think it's going well. But I think that, with the client that you have, people are willing to give a pass in these times. They understand things come up. And even if it wasn't coronavirus, like you can't control the internet going out and you having to rely on Zoom, and now you don't have that ability. So while it's an inconvenience, it's a minor inconvenience. And I would say if that client decided not to work with you because you had to reschedule given the circumstances, probably not going to be a good client for the long term anyways.
Yeah, exactly. They were understanding. I felt terrible about it, but what can you do?
Right. Sounds good. All right. Well, that concludes everything I wanted to hit from you. I know it's a surge week, so I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I think it's great information for the other advisors out there, just to either help them continue going forward with what they're doing, or maybe steal a little bit from you that, hey, I can jet to the office real quick and knock out 3 or 4 meetings and then get back home and have that good balance. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, I hope it's helpful to everybody out there who's struggling with us. And I love what you're doing, and keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. Hopefully this video comes through. If this only goes podcast, my video is lagging real bad right now. So I don't know if I'm going to make it work. Minimum, you're going to get to hear from Kyle. So thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you all in the next episode.